A wildfire in northern British Columbia is closing in on the community of Fort Nelson. More than 4,000 people are under evacuation order in the area around Fort Nelson and the Fort Nelson First Nation. That's because of a fast-moving fire in nearby Parker Lake. It began on Friday evening and is now covering over 5,000 hectares. Earlier today, the province warned the next 48 hours will be challenging.
We know that drought conditions have persisted through since 2023. This has made the fuels in the area extremely dry. With no precipitation, no major precipitation in the forecast ahead, and winds that can pick up at any time, let's just say we are extremely concerned.
Rob Fraser is the mayor for the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality, which includes Fort Nelson, and he joins me now. Mayor, thank you very much for making time for us on a very difficult day, I'm sure.
You're welcome.
So give us the latest. What is the latest that you've heard about the fire's proximity to your community and what people might still be behind?
Yeah, so everything's weather dependent. The wind has been blowing mostly from the northwest, so the fire is not coming closer to the community, although it's bearing right there at a kilometer and a half, mostly moving towards the south. But it's worrisome if the winds pick up and change from the east to us. It'll be an extreme concern here.
I mean, you are in so many ways the point person on this. Give me a sense of the ways in which you're getting information right now. Is it just a constant barrage of information, or are you sort of waiting anxiously to hear more?
Yeah, it's an anxious wait. I mean, I can roam the community a little bit and see for myself what's happening, but I depend on our Emergency Operations Center for communication information, as well as the wildfire communication folks and the local wildfire officers that are on the ground. They're feeding me information, and they've been able to keep me informed with respect to what's happening.
So I mentioned households that had remained behind. The last I had heard, fewer than 100 households had not heeded the evacuation. I think that was information that you actually put out this morning. Have you been able to convince anyone else to leave?
Yeah, so I've seen more people leave. The ones who refused, some of them are leaving because they were essential personnel, and we needed them to stay to assist and support the firefighters that are out there. Those folks, we've been asking them to leave. So if anybody's been watching, the road, they've been seeing some of these non-essential folks leaving. As far as some of the holdouts, I haven't seen. I know most of them, in one way, shape, or form, and I haven't seen many of them on the road. So I suspect they're still at their homes, expecting to be able to protect their properties.
Yeah, tell me a bit about what motivates people in your community to stay, given, as you described earlier, the magnitude of the concern right now.
I think people are just extremely anxious about doing whatever they can to protect their own properties, and they've spent time making plans and they're trying to execute those plans. The problem with that is that they're expecting services from us to assist them. And, we may need to use as water and electricity are two of the most important. If the electrical grid goes down for some reason because of the fire, or if we're pumping water in a particular area, we need it to hold the fire back, it could take pressure down. And so they might not have that water pressure that they need, or might not have that electricity they need for that electric pump. And so the plans that they've had, expecting that they'd have water, fall through. And so then they find themselves at risk, and then they find themselves in the middle of the fire, and then it's difficult for them to get out. And so that's why we're encouraging so many people that are here, just let it be and protect your life and come out of the fire area.
Yeah, just incredibly difficult moments for so many people. Cliff Chapman with the BC Wildfire Service said today that they've tried to account for the logistical challenge of Fort Nelson's location. You're relatively isolated. Do you feel that, given that fact, the province was able to adequately prepare to protect your community?
Yeah, we're very isolated. Yeah. The Alaska Highway goes through here, and it's the only road in and the only road out. It's our responsibility to ensure that we get all the folks out, and we did that really well. the province has a system to receive those folks, and it seemed to work fairly well, although it's very difficult to practice that. And we'll be able to analyze this after the fact to see if we could do more with respect to some of the holdover fires that were here all winter. But this is not a holdover fire. I mean, this was something that nobody could predict. We had a wind event. We suspected a tree fell over onto a power line, caught on fire, fell on the ground, and then because the wind was blowing so hard, that this fire just got out of anybody's control. But their response to get up here and the manpower and the equipment that they've put on here has been second to none. Very professional people, very well organized, and I'm real happy with the response so far from the province.
You do say something that nobody could predict, and I very much take your point, and I also appreciate, sir, that you're in the middle of a disaster. But I wonder, you must have watched, like so many people did, what happened in BC, Northwest Territories last summer. Had you had conversations with your team, with other people in the community about what would happen for exactly the kind of circumstances you're facing now?
Sure. The province, I think they did learn. We debriefed from last year quite a bit. I think the agencies are a little bit more prepared than they have been because of last year's fire. BC has the Fire Smart program, which we've implemented, and although it's been fairly new, we're trying to get people to look after their homes. I think the province is doing better at getting the resources out there to allow us to put fire, fuel barriers, taking the fuel out of those fire areas around the community. I think we need to do more of that across the province. And this is really as much as I can say. They learned from last year. It's just been such a short amount of time since last year. We haven't had a chance to really implement a lot of the ideas that came from last year.
What do you know about the thousands of evacuees from your community? How are they doing?
Yeah, so I'm in touch with our council who are embedded, in the various communities where our folks are, and they're telling us that spirits are still good. People are still being patient. The reception centers, it's tough when 3,500 people, drop into a community of 25,000. It's a shock to the system. And so their volunteers are trained, but we don't always get to practice this. And so there was long queues, but people were patient. And when people are patient and they're not getting angry, it tells me that they're still feeling somewhat comfortable. And if I can give as much information from here as I can by speaking to people like you, that gets that information out so they feel a little more understanding of what's happening at home, that helps to make them feel comfortable. And so all of those things put together, I think, have kept my phone from lighting up with angry citizens. And I'm not seeing that now. We'll see how this goes. It will likely take some time before we can get back, but we'll deal with that as we move forward.
Other than the weather, which obviously none of us can control, is there anything you need right now that you're not getting?
I think based on our remoteness, we've got everything here that we're going to need. Our local contractors are doing everything they can with the equipment that they have. Wildfire knows how to deal with these fires when they're close to communities, and so I trust them that they would have mobilized whatever equipment they could have. I know that we've got some structural protection trailers that came up here with sprinklers and that sort of thing. We've got the water to provide that. So I think we've got what we've got. And unless this goes on, by the time somebody else gets up here with a bunch of equipment, this is going to be over.
Okay. And you, sir, before I let you go, how are you hanging in?
Yeah, I managed to get a little bit of sleep last night. This is not what I wanted to get elected for, but here I am and dealing with it. And I'm learning about Facebook and communicating with people, and that's what leadership is all about: is making sure that you're doing your best for the people that put you here.
Well, listen, Mayor Fraser, we commend you for making all those efforts to do your best, and everybody there dealing with that very difficult situation. Thank you for making time today.
You're welcome.
Rob Fraser, Mayor of the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality, which includes Fort Nelson, BC.